What comes next? Jim Walsh, international security expert for the MIT Security Studies program, is with us. He has met with officials in Iran on the nuclear program and has testified about Iran before the U.S. Senate. So, Jim, the Iraqi parliament vote to expel foreign forces, meaning us, our troops. Is this an unintended consequence of the strike, and do you think they will go through with this?
Definitely, Eric. It is absolutely an unintended consequence of the strike. This is Iraq reacting to the fact that we carried out an assassination on their own territory and killed some of their people. So that was politically unacceptable. You know, they're already caught between the U.S. and Iran as it was, and this just pushed it over the edge. Now, will they actually do it, Eric? I don't know. This is more of a salvo. Iraq has a lot of problems right now, most of it having to do with reform and protest movement and their own internal problems. They may be just sounding off now. I sort of doubt whether they'll fully pull the trigger on that, because that's just more complications in a life for them, which is already deeply complicated.
And they have a lot of problems with Iran. I mean, how do you prevent them from becoming a satellite of Tehran? We saw the protests on the streets of Baghdad and Iraq against the theocratic terrorist regime of Tehran. How does the officials there push back against that?
Well, remember, Iran was also the country that helped kill a lot of ISIS when ISIS invaded Iraq. Iran and Iraq have a positive bilateral relationship. Of course, there's going to be tensions. Iran's going to try to influence Iraq, and sometimes it will overplay its hand. And we saw the result of Iran doing that earlier in the month when you had protesters in Iraq protesting Iranian influence. But right now, we've yanked the rug on that, right? I mean, they're mad at us right now. They were mad at the Iranians. They were protesting them. That was all before. Now the focus is us because we went and carried out this assassination. So you're right. One unintended consequence. I expect there will be more to follow.
Here is Secretary of State Mike Pompeo this morning at Fox News Sunday talking about the Iraqi decision.
We've been in their country. We've been supporting Iraqi sovereignty. We've been continuing to take down the terrorist threat against the Iraqi people. The prime minister is the resigned prime minister. He's the acting prime minister. He's under enormous threats from the very Iranian leadership that it is that we are pushing back against. We are confident that the Iraqi people want the United States to continue to be there to fight the counter-terror campaign, and we'll continue to do all the things we need to do to keep America safe.
Do you think that, Jim, will happen?
I think that's really a bizarre thing to say. I mean, he's saying, we don't care what Iraq thinks. We're going to stay in Iraq whether they want us or not. I doubt that's true. Again, I don't think Iraq's going to go all the way. They passed this resolution in their parliament, but I don't think they'll push this to the ultimate conclusion. Listen, you know, the more we pick a fight with Iran, the more we have an open fight with Iran, the worse it puts Iraq in their position. They are literally physically caught between us. So this sort of, you know, continuing to make threats, we're going to hit 52 Iranian targets, we're going to attack their cultural centers. None of that is helping Iraq. They want to push this away. They don't want any part of that.
Well, the Secretary of State also said that they made it very clear to Tehran that we're going to go after their decision makers. And Jay Johnson, Obama administration official today, said that Salamari was a lawful military objective. Here's also what the Secretary of State said this morning on Fox News Sunday.
In 2015, the Obama-Biden administration essentially handed power to the Iranian leadership and acted as a quasi-ally of theirs by underwriting the very militias that killed Americans. Those resources, the money that they had to build out those forces throughout the Shia Crescent was provided to them by the nuclear deal. We allowed Europeans to go do business there. We provided them $150 billion, pallets of cash. All of these things are the very challenge that the Trump administration has had to correct.
So finally, how do you think this will play out, Jim?
Wow, that took a lot of chutzpah. You know, they broke the agreement. The Trump administration went in and trashed the agreement. Everything we have since experienced, downing of drones, attack on Aramco in Saudi Arabia, attack on bases, now this back and forth. None of that happened when we had the nuclear agreement. None of that happened. When President Trump got out of the nuclear agreement, he promised that Iran would behave peacefully, they would back down, they would give in,
Iran has been attacking,
and the result has been the opposite.
As you know, Iran has been attacking the West, Israel, the bombing of the Buenos Aires in Argentina. I mean, on and on.
None of that happened during the Iran deal. Now, let's talk about what Iran did between 2015 and the time that Mr. Trump broke the Iran deal. They did none of this, none of it. And then they broke it and said, well, we'll force them to do our will, we'll make them submit, and it all will be peaceful. And the exact opposite has happened. And now the U.S. is in the business, and to pick up on your point, Eric, we're saying we will assassinate government officials of other countries. Not since World War II has the U.S. ever done that. Welcome to a new world in which other countries may decide they want to assassinate us and have, for whatever reasons. That's not a world we want to get into. We've crossed a line here, and we are creating a more dangerous world.
Jim Walsh, the MIT Center. Jim, as always, thank you.